Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Century Bridge podcast. I'm Siddhant, and this is my grandfather. I call him Nanu. And we plan on having a free flow conversation. We have a few pointers that we discuss, and the idea is to bring out stories from Nanu's lives and maybe help anyone listening learn something or just enjoy conversation between two different generations. So, Nanu did most of his learning, he had most of his learning phase in the 20th century, whereas I had most of my, or I'm having my entire life in the 21st century. So the idea of our conversation is going to be bridging the two centuries. That's why the Century Bridge podcast. And we're going to talk about Nanu's experiences at my age, what my experiences could be like in the future, what our career paths are. We're basically going to be talking about everything, tell some stories, talk about family, all kinds of things through a conversational vibe. So just to give a little bit of introduction, today we're mainly going to be dealing with Nanu's career path and how he navigated his career in the 20th century, and maybe there'll be some advice or some insights for me to take, or my friends who might be listening to this might be able to take some insights and apply it in their lives. So just to introduce Nanu and a little bit about his career. He started his career as an electrical service engineer in Siemens in 1967 at the age of 22. And he retired at Siemens as the managing director of Siemens Hearing India. So he went from repairing machines to sales to managing teams and to setting up the entire Siemens Hearing organization in India. So that was his career trajectory. He worked for 45 years, 45?
A little more than
A little more than 45 years at one company. Whereas I have already worked at two companies and I'm 24 years old. So there's a big contrast. So that's a little bit of introduction about Nanu. And you can maybe
Yeah,
introduce me.
Siddhant is a very affectionate grandchild, and what I appreciate about him and acknowledge his one characteristics which I admire the most is that he is highly committed, dedicated, persuasive to whatever goals he set, whether it is in the personal life or is in the professional life. Also, he has created a very good life balance so far. He has his clear-cut objectives as far as his studies, his professional goals are concerned. Also, he has a good networking with friends, and he enjoys life, and he has a good social and family balance.
Yeah,
So,
thank you.
welcome you, and I'm open to
Yes.
whatever you want to ask about it.
Yes. So I think let's go back to the start, young days and pre-college. When you were in school, what was the buzz? Like right now in school, most students are hearing about computer science, AI, data science. Everyone wants to be in those fields. A lot of people want to be in those fields, uh, in my circles at least, like engineers and stuff. Back in your time, was electrical engineering the buzz? What was the buzz?
No, there was no bus.
Okay.
This was a very, very different era. Uh, uh, we got independence when I was about, say, uh, 2.5 year old in 1947, say just about 2 years, 2.5 years old. So in my schooling days, I still remember vaguely as a child the first general election and then the second one. Uh, and then when the uh, change of currency had happened, uh, the metric system was adopted. Prior to that, there used to be rupee ana pi, and 1 rupee used to be 16 16. It was, yeah,
16 Anna.
16 ana. So something
No,
like that.
6 Anna was 1 rupee. So
No,
an
no,
Anna
no,
was
no.
one.
16, 16. 64.
Oh, it was 1/16th of a rupee. So that rounding.
Paisa was 1/16th of a rupee.
Okay.
Ana was 6 paisa rupee,
Okay.
and like that.
Okay.
So I saw the transition as a student from uh, through the metric system.
Yeah, I think the
Yeah.
smallest coin that I have seen being used is 50 paisa, which was
Mm.
also when I was 5, 6
Yeah.
years old.
Uh, Now, incidentally, I may be a little out of the place, but 50 paisa uh, at my late school level used to be the tip after a cup of coffee. So that was the difference
Yeah.
over there.
How much was your school fees?
My school fee right in the beginning was about 25 paisa till the fifth standard or sixth standard.
Okay.
Then perhaps after that, in the high school level, I think it was about a rupee per month. So that was.
And college?
Uh, College, I would not remember. Uh, I don't remember the numbers.
Okay.
Uh, but gradually it was going up.
Yeah, definitely.
Also, it has to be seen that in the contrast of what was the currency rate at that point of time, my earliest recall is when I first visited France. My conversion was, I think, 1 rupee 27 paisa to a French franc.
Wow.
So,
This might be
Deutschmark, I have seen conversion at 4 rupees for a Deutschmark, and I remember maybe 9 or 10 rupees for a dollar in early days. But
okay.
they were quite late in my career.
Yeah.
Uh, now question was that why I got into electrical engineering and
Yeah.
about the buzz you were talking about.
Yeah.
The buzz was only simple, that what kind of education you will have, what kind of a job you can get. And everybody was working, and idea was that either you go to army, take NDA, that was one option many people will take, or you take biology and try to get into medical, or you take science and maths and get into engineering.
And this was the real situation,
This
right?
was the real
These were
situation.
the only options.
There was no other option.
Do you think because of just the limited factors, like options back then, today people believe that doctor engineer is the only path?
No, that those days there was nothing else was available.
Yeah.
There was getting a job was the only priority people had. It was not, I mean, unfortunate part in my generation was that the people, they have interest. Say, for example, somebody has interest in literature and poetry, but then he will not take, person will not take that subject because that subject may not have earning potential. So people were driven more by the financial possibilities in life rather than own interest in education. So the people were channelized accordingly.
Yeah.
No, one thing when you said about electrical engineering, what fascinated me was uh, school level information that when a conductor moves in an electric field, electricity is generated. Without any contact, this looks magical to me.
Yeah.
And this was my first interest. And I also came to know the vice versa of it, that the change of flux generates electricity. And that was my first interest. Second thing which was driven me towards the industrial electrical engineering was in my early college days, I saw a series of ads from Siemens, a half page ad used to come in Times of India. The ad had just two hands crushing the sugarcane. The caption was that should an engineer know how much energy is required for crushing the sugarcane? Yes, if he is working with Siemens. This was to promote the uh, services for sugarcane industry, like the coal and so many other. That series fascinated me.
Was it, did you think that you have to stay at Siemens? Like you stayed there for 45 years. So was the idea like trying to stay at the company? Like today, many people, they just try to get a job at Google and keep that job. That's their goal. Was it
You
similar?
see, yeah, there were many factors. Initially, when I started, uh, I felt fantastic about the job.
Okay.
Uh, of course, there was enormous amount of learning, and for very very small things, no information was available, and I will go to the what you call uh, 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 some library, a central library, go to the index, try to work out the subject from the index, see some books.
How did you get the job?
Job, there was an interview, there was a written test, and then there was an interview, and I was really very very lucky to get it, and I considered myself blessed when I got it, because it was one of the best possibilities which happened in my life in my kind of a situation. So so I started as a service engineer. Learning things were only through experience and through seniors. Seniors were also very helpful. But then learning through the books. Now, come to that, I come from the age where we had studies only walls and just about initial bridge diode and for rectification and
Yeah.
some
There's
very,
a
very fundamental
there's a
things.
funny thing that I tell a lot of people, that your entire electrical engineering degree, the full 4 years of degree, is one paragraph in my electrical engineering introduction textbook.
Yeah.
It's just, this was the past, this was the history,
Mm.
and now we start our degree.
Yeah, and the interesting part is that those valves were still used in the industry. Say, for by example, automatic exposure switch off in X-ray. There used to be a thyratron valve, which is a ionized things, and when the X-ray passes through the plate and hits the organized ionization chamber,
Yeah.
it generates a very faint current which triggers the thyratron valve, which switches off the circuit. You know, I've gone through that.
LEDs were there back then?
No, not at that
No?
time, not
Okay.
to my knowledge.
Okay.
It came much later.
Okay.
Then subsequently, the solid state it started coming. And the funny part is that when I was still a service engineer, when the first timer board, which a populated board with some condensers and resistors and all that, were put. And when that came, those days communication used to happen through telex. So I sent a telex to my head office that please send the diagram for the repairs. And then I was told that if it gets defective, you don't have to repair it. It has to be replaced, and the defective board has to be sent to the factory. This was a great information to me
Yeah.
because I was used to working at a component level. I had never worked at a, and I used to funnily say that I am a repairs person, not a replacement person. So, and I used to feel proud about it. But
Yeah.
there I realized that how easy the future is going to be.
What's the biggest machine you've repaired? Or like the toughest job?
Yeah, there had been some jobs which have been very, very difficult. Uh, one of the things was deep therapy, diagnostic, rather therapeutic equipment. They used to call the trade name was, I'm even not remembering the trade name. Stepnipan.
Okay.
Stepnipan was the number, or the Dharmopan was a smaller version of that.
Made in India?
No, they were all imported.
Okay.
So those were used for cancer treatment. Also, one of the tough job was in cancer treatment was through radiation therapy through radiation source. The source would come. So once I
Plutonium
had to
source?
replace the source uh, of a therapeutic machine that was used to call gamma camera, Gammatron, not gamma camera came later.
Okay.
Gammatron.
Okay.
Gammatron had so I had a training in BARC Bombay on the subject, and then on the day of replacement, we had to have a very special permission. There used to be a big drum kind of a thing which is made of a solid lead,
Lead.
which is a container of a live source.
Is the source plutonium?
Source was just about 1.5 inch by a quarter inch cylindrical thing, but then it is compressed and made a smaller one subsequently.
But
So
what element is the source?
in the source, this was a cobalt source, cobalt 60
Oh,
source,
okay, okay, okay.
cobalt 60 source, and that radiation was used for the treatment.
And how long is the decay?
The half life was, I think, don't remember correctly, but the product which I was replacing was after about 15 years of
Okay,
service.
okay.
So at that point of time, it still was having radiation,
Radioactive, yeah.
and it was used for treatment. But the intensity was low, so the duration of treatment used to be more.
When it's replaced, how is it
That
disposed?
was the toughest job of
Okay,
my life.
yeah.
As you see, when this came, there has to be a special permission to transport it from the railway station to the medical college where the product is there, and it has to come in a special truck because the possibility of in accident there could be a possibility of radiation hazard. And for my production, a person flew from Bombay with all the equipment, online radiation management, and he clearly told me that I'm here only for your production. I will not help or support you in doing the job. This is your job.
Okay.
And that was very clear line.
Wow.
So this was a very tough job because the process involved that you have to first remove the old source drawer which is still alive, and the container which has come had a dummy source drawer. It has to be tied, pulled in the this, and then the live one has to be put over there, and then there are certain limits. In history, it was told that sometimes because of anxiety of doing the job, couple of times the drawer got dislodged and fell on the ground, and it was a big task. One engineer historically made the mistake of, in a confusion, picked up the source and put it in the drawer and pushed it back. The fellow had leukemia and died after 3 months.
Oh, in
So
one, like in that fast?
yeah, I mean, that was his case. In a case study, this was
Okay.
told to us. Now, all these things were on my mind when I was doing the job, but I did not even took 15% of the permissible radiation
Okay.
which was available. That was the toughest thing.
That's good.
There had been quite a few such things. Uh, Tough sense in the sense that handling customers, handling angry people. That was the period I got trained to understand why people get angry, and then I realized it is never, never, never a person. They are angry about a situation, and if I am able to rectify the situation, they are not angry with me. And in the process, I have made many, many friends, professional friends, I would say. So that was about. Then subsequently, that was service part. Then I was in sales. Then I was did some projects.
Why did you transition from service to sales?
Two things. Uh, First of all, uh, the technology was changing very fast. I was trying to read, I was trying to keep pace, and I started realizing the younger people which are coming, they are much more educated, much more smarter, and can do a better job. But I had an experience, and that was a positive thing. But simultaneously, I saw that two things that in the due course of time, obsolescence will hit me. And before that happens, when I'm still productive, if I go to the sales, uh, then my experience will help me out a lot. My service experience in
What
particular.
phase of your life did you feel like you were the most productive?
I think after 5 years experience, uh, I was the most productive.
Okay.
Uh,
And if you had to equate the job that you had got, the Siemens job, the first job, to any job that is today, like any modern day job, what would it be?
I think for in computer engineering, I would say uh, at the induction level where I was, I would equate it to the coding,
Okay.
that kind of a job. But it depends on application.
Hmm.
It depends on application.
Okay. Yeah.
Uh, so then various fields like sales and the projects and then the marketing. And that was also very, very interesting because all those few successes and few failures, they were important. And everything was a learning platform. Uh, every failure.
Like uh, right now, many people my age who want to transition to say sales or managing or stuff, they know that the potential in their desk job, let's say coding for example, it's limited. You have to sit at a desk for years, and after that, what will you do? You'll just sit more at the desk, or you'll manage a team of people sitting at the desk. But people know this. They know that if they transition to the managerial role, they don't have to do the desk job for that long. Was that also a factor back then? Like you could see a path of growth away from
Not
technical work?
exactly. I did not know that how the growth will happen.
Okay,
I had no vision of the growth,
okay,
and I had not even dreamt uh, when I ended my career at the age of 67. I will reach that stage where I was really. So I was just flowing with the situation, whatever was happening, good, bad, indifferent. I had a tendency of accepting that. Uh, So I was not very ambitious, but things were happening. Only thing I would say the positive was that wherever when something went wrong, uh, with my teammate, I will sit and talk what went wrong. And I think this is always will remain a valid question also in the future. Every time, everywhere, everyone will not be successful. Life is a mix of success and failure. Now, incidentally, in my terminology, here I have used the word failure, but in my professional life, I never use the word failure. For me, it is either success or non success. Non success is defined as something where I have still not achieved success. And between non-success and failure, there is a big psychological difference. That is what I feel.
Yeah.
And when we use this kind of a terminology and try to live those terminology, it makes a lot of difference in our approach
Yeah.
about the future.
Yeah.
So in the sales, or rather to squarely answer your question about when you want to change, first of all, uh, it is important whatever job you do,
Yeah.
you should be good at it at the time when you are leaving it. Not that you feel that now
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
something else is happening
Yeah. Yeah.
and then you don't feel like doing that job,
Yeah.
because somebody else will be doing the job, and you should be in a position to guide your that person
Yeah.
who is reporting to you about it. And then slowly, depending upon that, what is the next function, what are the different parameters required for that job, that few new skills will have to be acquired. They will automatically happen with little bit of an experience and with little bit of an effort. That happens.
If the 22-year-old version of you, when you were just stepping out, job search, all of that, if that version of you was shown the exact career trajectory that you actually lived, what would his thoughts be?
At the age of 21, 22, I never thought this will happen.
Yeah.
That looked impossible.
Yeah.
I never dreamt about any of these things. I had no ambition. My requirement when I started was that I should have a reasonable uh, compensation package according to the standards of those days, for little better than average, which I already had right in this job. And that's how. And then something which balked me right in the beginning. It looks so complicated in the first 2 weeks. And then I thought probably I will not be able to fit in this job because this is too complex. But slowly I realized that it is not all that complex. It looked in the beginning very, very difficult, but gradually I started liking it. And then there are different type of challenges which came.
Hmm.
One challenge, which most important thing which I learned in this entire period was that for the today's perspective, when say for example a person is doing work, I say you're working for a software company and creating a software for some customer, and you're not at the coding level, you are managing a team and doing that work. The most important thing is to clearly understand that what is the requirement.
Yes.
uh, this sometimes creates a big gap in what the product we develop and what and how should I say customer friendly or users friendly it is, and what was the perception of the people who had hired you
Yeah.
for this job.
Yeah.
So this understanding slowly comes, and this
You.
does not come to a person who is at a coding level. He does not come to a person who is slightly higher, managing a small team. But you require a bigger site, and you require, I would say, the width of the subject. And then you have to go for a selective depth,
Yeah.
which is your core competency.
So you often say that because you repaired machines for so long, you technically understood them very well, and that helped you with the sales part.
This does.
Yeah.
This does. Because that made me very easy that, sometimes what a person is looking for in a image of any image, and if that image is not satisfactory to a lay person, it will look very good.
Yeah.
But from the diagnostic point of view, if somebody is looking the view will be very different.
Right.
And when I am able to understand their point of view, then my applications will be much better.
Right.
This will help in the sales, this will help in the projects, this will help even if you are making any suggestion for any productive improvement in the
Right.
product.
Right. Right. Do you think people take people with past technical skills more seriously?
No,
Okay.
normally not.
Okay.
I mean, this is very, very, though it has its own importance,
Yeah.
but I will not hesitate saying that it is a limited
Yeah.
importance.
Yeah.
You see, the crux is not in the technological knowledge,
Yeah.
but crux in understanding the psychological impact which has on human beings on these issues. And if we understand how we conduct ourselves under a given set of circumstances which are totally new, and how we utilize the resources, this factor has not changed. Whether it was 50 years or 60 years back, or whether it is now,
Yeah.
these factors will remain. So I would say that these knowledge and impression of old experience, old technologies versus the new is not the subject of debate. It is the kind of experience which those technologies and today's technologies give you.
Right.
That is important.
Mm.
And I see a similarity in these things.
Yeah.
And as the question is that what is the biggest barrier in the learning process? It is this arrogance that I have been doing this job for n number of years, and now why a young fellow which is fresh from with few years experience after the college and coming and telling me how it has to be done. Now this is a very big barrier. And simultaneously on the other side, the younger person might think that, my God, what these people are doing for last 20, 25 years, they are doing the same thing again and again, again, again. They don't realize how better it could be done. It has to be the ability to see each other's point is important.
Yeah.
And it is important to bridge that gap.
Yeah.
And that is the bridge between the two centuries,
Yeah.
which is common.
Yeah. That's common.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting.
Anything else from
Yeah.
your side?
Yeah. I have so many questions. I have so many. Next I want to ask you, in your career, which phase did you feel like you learned the most? Like you said, the most productive part was maybe 5, 7 years into your work experience. When did you feel like your learning was peak? What experiences taught you the most?
Failures.
Okay.
And failures happened in every phase. Uh, I will count my failures. I had technical failures as a service engineer. Uh, I had failures in the managing customers as a service engineer.
Hmm.
Uh, and but then subsequently, I came out of that. Uh, so that was one part. In the sales, uh, why you why a situation did not work out. That teaches you a lot. So life is a continuous learning process, and every learning has its own importance. It is very difficult to say that which part.
Yeah. Okay.
Most important learning, I would still say, learning the human behavior in different areas. And in my last assignment, when I incorporated the company in '98,
Yeah.
uh, before that, before I started that, somewhere in 94, 95, around those years, one of those years, uh, there was some kind of a stagnation in the organization, and the organization decided that we have to do some kind of a re-engineering of the organization. And there was a team of about 10, 12 people. From medical engineering, I was chosen for that job. We had an opportunity of interviewing more than 1100 people in the organization in different areas, in different divisions, in the factory and all that, which gave us a lot of insights. Then we made a whole lot of recommendation that what all things can be done technically in the processes, technological changes, in the process changes, and in the cultural changes, and identification of the barriers, and the uh, removal of the barriers. So whole lot of action plans was made. That was, I think, the biggest learning in my life, that how what can happen really.
So you feel like you learned more from situations, or did you learn more from people?
From both.
Mix of the two.
From people about the human behavior and their reactions and their acceptance. Understanding both their non-acceptance and acceptance, how people think and how they react to the situation, what is their requirement,
Yes.
what is their technological requirement, what is their social requirement, what is their psychological requirement. If you have a basic idea of that, you are not a psychologist, but you have the basic idea of that, then you can conduct yourself in such a way to generate the desired result.
Yeah.
And that is the slogan. Your objective is to generate the desired result, whatever you have set for.
Yeah.
So for that, your internal flexibility, whether it is technological, whether this is behavioral, or whether it is temperamental or psychological, that has to be looked into.
Yeah.
So looking within the self and looking the situation, looking the people around you, makes it an integrated thing.
Yeah.
So that's how I will look at that.
Mm.
So this re-engineering, when this offer came to me to start the Siemens hearing instrument, I had two feelings. First thing was that is a very kind of a small job, very small segment, niche segment is fine, but there is no glamour like MRIs and CT scanners and the gamma cameras and all those things. They will not be there. It is something which needs a distribution network, training the people and this and that. And I was really reluctant. And then my director one day told me that you had given so many recommendations in your re-engineering exercise. Now we are giving you a clean slate. Why don't you write your own script?
Yeah. Nice.
And that got me.
Yeah. That's also such a good point, like how he motivated you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then, right at the beginning.
Did
Now,
you
earlier,
did you do that for others also in their career?
no, this happened. I'll tell you
Yeah,
exactly
yeah,
what
yeah.
is the transition in that.
Yeah.
When I started the new company, what things I did and what was happening just before that.
Okay.
Before that, I was regional manager in Chennai for the South. We had in our group a pool of stenographers. I had a secretary over there, and I will dictate, and she will give the letters and all that. And then came the laptops, and then company generated email for everybody. And then I had the initial resistance to that. It was not easy for me. And when I say, all young people will laugh at me, but I will have to share the truth. I had given my ID and password to my secretary. She will take the print of the emails. I will give her the dictation, and she will reply. And this went on for a few months till I took over the job. And when I incorporated this company, I said that there will not be a telephone operator in the company. Everybody, the landlines were still the key communication channel, but the call comes, whosoever receives the call will transfer it to the required person. There will be no pool of stenographer. Everybody has to do work himself. I will have no secretary. I will do all my letters and emails all by myself. Even if I have to take the print, I will do it all by myself. And to some of my fellow colleagues, it looked something very progressive. And I also felt that this is the future and this is the right way. This I did in 98.
When computers were entering the
When
workforce.
computers had entered, but mobiles had also entered,
Right.
but they were not very, very popular. But then slowly it worked.
What were computers mainly used for when they just came in?
You see, primarily, earlier it was spreadsheet was Lotus 123.
Okay.
Then Word was there.
Yeah.
Then Microsoft came, and then the Windows came, and then primarily I use Excel
You
for
still
various
use
things.
Excel for everything?
I still use
Yes.
it, and I found one of the best products. Earlier, I remember my very early days. when I was in projects, and when you used to make the budget and when you would do the thing, everything with there was not even a calculator. There used to be a mechanical calculator, uh, and if something factor has to be changed in the calculations, there are so many different components. One component you feel requires to be deleted or added, then the whole calculation has to be done again.
Oh.
Uh, Communication made enormous amount of difference. The very old memories. I was in one of the cities in Punjab, somewhere maybe Ludhiana or Jalandhar or one of those places, and I was still a service engineer those days, and there was a component required, and we had a system that if you need a spare part, you inform Delhi, and somebody, one of the person from the company, will take a train overnight, come to you and deliver the product so that you don't have to make the second trip. So after I found some component is required, I took one of the James Hadley Chase book, went to the post office, booked a trunk call. STD was not available those days, and sat down quickly. It took me 4 hours to reach my office. The call will go to Chandigarh, and from say maybe Amritsar, and then to Chandigarh, and then it will get connected to Delhi. The whole process
Crazy, yeah.
took so much time, unproductive time, and I was just reading the novel.
Book, yeah.
Next day, and then rest of the day, I was still free. Next day morning, in 2 hours time, I changed the thing, finished the job, and took the night train and went back.
Yeah.
Today the computerization, main thing is that simultaneously so many main things are happening. Earlier, uh, A will generate a request. Uh, it will go through a letter to another desk. Desk may be just 1 floor away, and then somebody will reply it. That might take time. So the response time was
Massive, yeah.
massive.
Yeah.
Now response time is hardly any.
Zero, actually, yeah.
It's just zero.
Yeah.
You can just pick up the phone, talk to anybody,
Yeah.
and so this digitization and communication, both these things put together, and now how this transition happened. Now the transition, if you say when people talk of globalization, transition happened in 3 parts. The first part of the transition was globalization of product, which was primarily multinational companies had this theme so that they get access to the bigger markets.
Yeah.
And so the product globalization somewhere in the late 80s and 90s it started picking. And in India, the leadership of Manmohan Singh as a finance minister did a fantastic job and opened the gates for that.
Right.
That was a very progressive step.
Yeah.
Second part was happening in the area of, I would say, not exactly the product, but in the financial transactions, which came much later with the digital transactions happening. And now
That's net banking. Yeah.
that is the next thing which has come quite recently.
Right.
So the product globalization, then before that came the globalization of the manpower, HR globalization, when the West was opening the gate for blue collar, brown collar jobs and technical and skilled people. Uh, so that was a second globalization which was related to the human resource globalization, and the third globalization which was happening in the financial sector, which is relatively
Yeah.
recent,
Yeah.
and this has made a big difference to the banking system as well. So these are the things, these are the transitions, and if we look back and look at all these things, every phase had learning period, and the most interesting part is that the cycle of change has shifted enormously.
Yeah.
Earlier, the change would be required after 15 years, 20 years, kind of a thing. When I'm talking of 60s, late 60s, then people started thinking that something today, if 5 years old, perhaps it needs change because technology has changed, processes needs to be updated,
Yeah.
and something like that. So the rate of change has made difference,
Yeah.
but one thing remains constant. Management of change is one of the major keys for success,
Right.
and one has to be very open about it. A change also means upgrading your own skills. But if there is a saturation in one part of the skill, say for example, I felt saturation in my technical skills, then the skill, another kind of a skill has to take over.
Complementary skill.
That is a complementary skills, whether it is in the area of communication, in the soft skills, or in the area of the team building kind of a thing, and all that. And then the management of the market,
Right.
management of the product, and all those things will require. But this change of the identification of own saturation of a particular skill, identification of what possibly a new kind of a skill can be generated, and how it can be generated, how it can be implemented in my area which I have selected. All those factors are there. But one thing remains unchanged, that management of change is the key to success.
Right. Yeah. I have like two more questions.
Yeah.
The first is today a lot of people demand work-life balance. It's like a very important thing. In the start, you also said I'm all about balancing life. Back when you started, you said that the key driver was finances. That was driving everybody to do what they did. So did people think about work-life balance? Was it a concept?
No, it was not a concept.
Okay.
I was extremely lucky. I had a wife who was very, very supportive. And initially, I was traveling about 20 days a month.
Yeah.
And many times it was night travel, day work, night travel, day work for 4 or 5 days continuously from
Yeah.
one place to another place to another place,
Yeah.
like that. Uh, and then I got married in, my goodness,
Huh?
69,
Yeah.
1969. Yeah. And I had my first child when in 70, uh, and successively with a gap of 2 years each, two more children. So we had a full family when I was your age, almost.
Yeah, I think about that. My age, you were married.
Yeah.
And how does that change your perception towards career? For me, I can do anything. I
No,
can take a
nothing,
break.
nothing.
I can do whatever I
You
want.
see, most important thing was that uh, I have to manage finance for the family, for the future of children, and stability in life.
Yeah.
I had started my life with a bedding and a suitcase. And after marriage, we had rented a house, and in 1 month, we purchased a sofa. Another, after 2 months, purchased a dining table. And like we slowly had built up the place.
Yeah.
And that's how life started.
Yeah.
Uh, so the area was that you have to have the future, protect your future, your own old age, future of your children, how they have to settle. These thoughts
Right.
came from my father. When my third child came in life, he said that now you have three children, two of them are daughter, so you should start saving. Uh, so at that point of time, I made my first small investment in terms of in the banks,
Yeah. FDs.
FDs, and then
RDs.
recurring deposit schemes and all that.
Yeah.
Those were the key things. Share market was still not
Yeah.
developed till then. So, and then everything, all those methods kept changing. But main idea was in between. I had thought of going to the Middle East as a service engineer because there was good money over there.
Dubai.
But Dubai, and there were opportunities opening. This was about 6 7 years of job.
Okay.
Uh, and the only thing which was hitting me, that what will happen to the family. So the decision was put off that this is not feasible. Whatever has to be done, it has to be done. So I was not thinking of this. I was lucky enough that I got different roles in the same organization. So the change of organization also did not happen.
Yeah.
This was one of the good organization, good culture. I had enjoyed it, and I had different opportunities. The job rotations happened, and most of them happened without my asking. I wanted to go to the sales because I was feeling it, and I didn't ask for it. It came in my life one day. It was proposed that why don't you come to sales?
Right.
So I accepted it.
Right. Right.
Then from the sales, there were some projects which were looking attractive, and somebody someday said that why don't you take over the projects? So I said, they're fine. Then there was a proposal that why don't you come to the central office and take marketing?
Right.
So I took marketing.
But you make it sound like luck, but it was all because of how you were performing in your day-to-day
Yeah,
life.
it was. You see, when rather than my asking, if somebody else is asking,
That's a
management
good
is
sign.
asking, I feel great about it.
Yeah.
And I was still not negotiating.
Right.
Sometimes I feel that probably I would have negotiated better package with each shift. I did not do that. So whatever came to my, I was feeling that it is good.
Yeah.
Uh,
Your first salary, the first job that you ever did, if you had to compare it to today's terms, how much would that salary, LPA package?
you see, my monthly earning was 500. My first salary was 513 rupees.
Okay.
Now, how I would convert it?
Just by standard of living, or how much, what all you could purchase with that if you can.
I would say it will be like close
15,
to about
18
50 to 60,000
a month.
a month,
Okay. Okay.
roughly in that range.
Got
But
it.
it that at today's the financial situation overall in the country has changed.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Opportunity is
that point
massive.
of time, that was considered a very good salary, very
Right.
good starting,
Right.
and I was almost proud of it.
Yeah.
My God, I got a good job.
Almost. Why almost?
So that was kind of a thing.
Yeah. Wow.
Uh,
Okay, I think last question, just to summarize everything. If you had to give advice to whoever's listening for a stereotypical career path success, not like success in life, just career success, what would be the one thing or three things that, just to summarize, what would be the most important things that people my age should keep in mind, or the younger generation should keep in mind to have a successful career?
you see, first thing, whatever you are doing, you have to have your heart and soul in it.
Yes.
Don't take anything half-hearted. Today you have options.
Yeah.
So do something which you really like to do, which you feel you have the skills to do it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that at the entry level you have to be competent enough to do it.
Yeah.
Because it is a learning process.
Yes.
This is the first most important factor. Second thing is that today it is possible for you to determine the factors, what you want from life. That's about life balance, work, family life balance. And also to understand today, unfortunately, family life, rather by family life, I would say the married life is not as stable as it used to be in my era. In my era, in my colleagues, in my age group, I had not heard of divorces. I had not heard about separations. Yeah, there were issues where the life was not very comfortable and people had complaints about each other, but they were still dragging on. Today, the situation has changed. So, another factor was in those areas was
Some sound came. I'll just see what seems okay. Yeah.
another factor which comes about the life balances that we have to really see that what are our expectation. Career success and financial success are not the only things in life. It is important. And finance, if we understand just one thing, the law of diminishing utility. If we understand that, then we can enjoy life. and family is also very, very important.
Hmm.
Children are also very important.
Yeah.
Finance for children is also everything is important.
Yeah.
So one has to create. Now today it is possible.
Yeah.
Today it is possible, and changing job just for the sake of changing, for a small increment of 5% or 10%, should not be the criteria.
Yes.
It should be the job content, and if you're saturated at some planes and there are no growth or learning opportunities, then it is
Then it's time to
justified,
yeah.
but not for a small package.
Right.
Same job, a small package increment, unless you have reasons.
Yes. Yes.
Unless you have reasons.
Definitely.
Also, one more thing is today it is very, very important to manage the personality conflict in team building, understanding each other's personality and avoiding personality conflict. Because in all the organization, everywhere, there will be this little bit of a, by little bit of, there will always be some
Always.
kind of a corporate politics. So that will lead to some kind of a personality conflict. Management of personality conflict is also one of the key areas which is important in growth.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it. And over the next few episodes, we're going to try to keep this consistent. We'll talk about travel, my perception of travel, Nanu's perception of travel. We'll talk about personal finance. We'll share stories. We'll ask Nani to join in once in a while. You would have seen her in the background. So we have a lot of plans. We have a lot of things coming up, and we're going to work on making this good. But yeah, this is a start, and it was fun. It was fun. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening. Bye bye.